Can Alex Pereira actually have success at the heavyweight division?
Today, I was at work and I had a bunch of meetings over there this afternoon, and I went over to the PI, and he was over in the PI. And I'm like, well, you're the last guy I expected to see here today. What are you doing here? And they're telling me, we want to fight a heavyweight. He doesn't care. He wants to fight everybody. He wants to move up to heavyweight. He's a dream to have in this organization.
If it was up to him, what does he think is the most exciting and most probable matchup next?
Peso pesado.
Heavyweight.
Heavyweight, oh. Well.
Not even a moment's hesitation.
We got Aspinall and Cyril gone.
Não, queria super luta.
No, I want a super fight.
Não sei se, pô, Casa Branca, John Jones.
John
seria uma
Jones.
super luta.
At the White House, John Jones. That's
okay.
a super fight.
He could be a 3-division world champion for
Oh
the
my
first
God.
time. Look, he's 38 years old too. At a certain point in time, he's going to be done with this. We got to appreciate him now.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have 10 years left.
We need Tom Aspinall versus Alex Pereira for the undisputed heavyweight world championship live on pay-per-view at the White House in June 2026. Pereira gets a chance at 3 belts, never done before. You need a White House main event, and this is it. If Aspinall gets past Garn especially, Alex Pereira versus Tom Aspinall is the matchup to make.
After Alex was able to beat Magomed Ankalaev very quickly in the first round, a lot of rumors are starting to swirl about Pereira potentially moving up to the heavyweight division. But with all the hype and excitement around this potential move, the question is, can Pereira actually have success at the weight class? But quickly, before we get the video started, my name is JuicyMMA, I make opinionative MMA content, and if you guys enjoy videos similar to this, hit that subscribe button, as only 10% of you watching are actually subscribed. But also, if you guys are enjoying the content and want to support the channel even more, be sure to hit that join button for members only live streams, videos, alongside with other perks as well. But anyways, let's get into it. What Alex Pereira was able to do to Magomed Ankalaev was nothing short of incredible. Ankalaev was a guy that Pereira just lost to not too long ago, and going into this fight, not many people, honestly including myself, thought Pereira would be able to win. But not only was Pereira able to win this fight, but he was able to make it one of, if not the easiest fights of his UFC career. He went in there, pressured Ankalaev, and eventually landed a big right hand and found the finish not too long after that. So after Pereira was able to put on a performance that dominant and that impressive, the rumors are back. The rumors are back once again of Pereira moving up to the heavyweight division. Alex in the past has talked about the fact that he may want to consider moving up to the heavyweight division, and at this point, after a performance like that over Ankalaev, he certainly deserves the opportunity. So a question that some of you may be wondering at this point is, do I think Pereira can have success at the heavyweight division? Well, before we talk about skill and potential matchups, let's take a look at his size. Because when you talk about Alex, it's insane that at one point he was able to make the middleweight division. The amount of weight that he was cutting at that time is absolutely insane, and it seems like each and every weight class that Pereira is at, he's pretty big for the weight class. Obviously for the middleweight division, Pereira was way too big and he was cutting way too much for that weight class, but even currently for the light heavyweight division, he's a pretty big light heavyweight out there, and he cuts quite a bit of weight just to make that weight class. So in terms of size at the heavyweight division, I think maybe he'll be a little bit smaller than some guys, but I don't think he's going to be significantly undersized for the weight class. And of course, not to mention the fact that if he does decide to move up to the heavyweight division, he's most likely going to be putting on some additional weight, so his walk around weight would be even higher than what it currently is at this point. So now that we got the size out of the way, the next question is, will Alex Pereira's power transition over to the heavyweight division? Well, in my opinion, I think the answer is yes. I do think the Pereira's signature left hook is still going to be really effective at the heavyweight division. Now, will it be as effective as it was at middleweight or as effective as it was at light heavyweight? I think the answer to that is probably no, and I think guys at the heavyweight division will probably be able to take a couple of more shots compared to guys at light heavyweight or compared to guys at middleweight, but at the end of the day, I still think Pereira is going to be one of the more powerful guys at the heavyweight division, and I think if he's landing cleanly on you with a big overhand right or a signature left hook or maybe even a high kick, there's a good chance he'll be able to find a finish, even at the heavyweight division. So now that we got that out of the way, another question that some fans may be wondering is, will Pereira be too slow for the heavyweight division with the additional weight? Because as I mentioned before, I do think Pereira is going to put on additional weight to make the heavyweight division. And a lot of times when guys are trying to move up a weight class and they put on too much additional weight, they can become too slow for that weight class above. But when you're talking about Alex Pereira, I think he's probably going to put on additional weight, yes, but I think he's going to do so in a smart way. And I think him and his team is going to regulate his weight to the point where he's optimal for the heavyweight division, where he'll have more power than he normally does due to the additional weight. But at the same time, I don't think Pereira and his team is going to have him put on additional weight to the point where he'll be way too slow, even for the heavyweight division. So overall, I don't think the weight issues are going to be a problem moving up to heavyweight for Alex Pereira. But the next question that some of you may be wondering at this point is, how will Pereira's style transition to the heavyweight division? Well, in my opinion, I think stylistically, Pereira has a chance to have a lot of success. Now, obviously, it depends on who he goes up against, but when you talk about a lot of the blobs of the heavyweight division, I think Pereira will not only be fine, but I think he'll be able to find easy finishes early on those guys. Yes, there are some blobs that do have decent wrestling, but at the end of the day, they don't have great footwork and they're just way too slow to effectively shoot in on Alex Pereira. And I think in those sort of fights, Pereira will be able to slip over to the side and land big shots of his own, and we're probably talking about a first or second round TKO or knockout for Alex Pereira. But I guess the real question is, how will Alex Pereira do against the top half of the heavyweight division? As at this point, it seems like if he does move up to heavyweight, his first fight will be either up against Tom Aspinall, John Jones, or possibly even Ciryl Gane if Gane beats Tom Aspinall. I think for the Ciryl Gane matchup, Pereira has a lot of opportunities to have success. He doesn't really have to worry about the takedown from Ciryl Gane, and he can just focus on striking. And typically when Pereira goes up against a striker out there, he has a lot of success. And also another thing going for him in the Ciryl Gane matchup is, yes, Gane is a very technical striker. Yes, he is very fast for the heavyweight division, but he's not necessarily the most dangerous fighter at the heavyweight division. So if Pereira can go out there and strike and not be all that concerned about the power coming back his way, I do think he'll be able to have a lot of success in that sort of a fight. Now for the John Jones potential matchup, I think that's a much tougher fight for Alex. John Jones obviously has all-time great wrestling, and if he's able to find takedowns on Alex Pereira, which I think there's a good chance he will, I don't think a fight like that will go all that well for Alex. On the ground, John can land his signature ground and pound elbows, he can threaten submissions, and I wouldn't be surprised if John was able to find a first or second round submission or TKO victory on the ground over Alex Pereira. But with all that being said, if Pereira wants to have any sort of a chance in that sort of hypothetical matchup, he's going to need to find a signature left hook or an overhand right quickly. He's going to need to knock out John Jones before John can even shoot in for a takedown. If Alex is able to do that, then sure, he'll find a finish, but overall, I definitely would favor John Jones in that sort of hypothetical matchup. Now moving on to Tom Aspinall, I also feel a very similar way. I think Aspinall is probably a really difficult stylistic matchup for Alex Pereira, as if Aspinall wants, he could certainly shoot in for takedowns. And because Aspinall is going to be bigger out there than Alex, and he's also probably even going to be more athletic out there than Alex is, it's going to be very, very difficult for Pereira to stop those takedown shots. And on the ground, I do think Aspinall will be able to have a lot of success as well, by landing ground and pound shots, by threatening submissions, and I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if Tom is able to find a finish on the ground relatively quickly as well over Alex Pereira. But the difference between John Jones and Tom Aspinall is even on the feet, there are paths to victory for Tom. Tom is extremely dangerous and extremely fast on the feet, and I wouldn't even be surprised if Tom is able to blitz Alex Pereira and eventually land a big right hand and eventually find a finish like that. Now, I will say the easiest path to victory for Tom would be shooting in for takedowns, but as I said before, I wouldn't be shocked if he does find a finish even on the feet against Alex. Now, one counterpoint to that argument is on the feet, it is definitely a much more dangerous fight for Aspinall, and if Aspinall is willing to fight this fight on the feet, there certainly is a possibility that a very talented and a very dangerous striker in Alex Pereira catches Tom. So that fight is a little bit more nuanced, but at the end of the day, I definitely do favor Tom Aspinall in that sort of hypothetical matchup. So I guess to answer the question of the video on whether or not I think Pereira can move up to the heavyweight division, I think it depends. I do think there are guys at the top half of the heavyweight division that Pereira could beat, but at the end of the day, if you're talking about Tom Aspinall or John Jones for potential matchups for Alex next, I think both of those fights are very difficult stylistic matchups. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Pereira is going to move up to the heavyweight division? And if he does, do you think he's going to have success, or do you not think so? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, check one of these two videos popping up now. And until the next time, peace out, guys.